So DC has a pretty rich history of beloved animated series. From old school classics like Challenge of the Super Friends to Batman the Animated Series and Justice League Unlimited, cult classics like Brave and the Bold, Teen Titans and Young Justice, and many, many others. Shows that shaped what many fans of today love about DC Comics from a very early age, creating lifelong fans who would go on to watch movies, play video games, buy toys, and maybe even read comics based on these iconic characters. Cartoons are an incredibly important part of the superhero popularity ecosystem. Back in the day, the comics were targeted towards a younger audience of kids and teens, even if they were quite popular with adults as well. But for a while now, the vast majority of superhero comics are written almost exclusively for adults, and so cartoons are one of the first places kids will even begin to love these characters. With Batman specifically being pretty well portrayed across multiple generations of animated portrayals for young audiences to discover and become lifelong fans of. Well, if you're a kid today, it fucking sucks to be you, bitch, cause you're stuck with fucking Bat Fam as your entry point into the character. Cape Crusader is a cartoon, sure, but it's not intended for kids. It's got dark and mature themes, swearing, moderate violence, and overt death. Trying, and in my opinion, utterly failing, to capture the audience who grew up loving the animated series' take on Batman by mimicking its serious take on the character while tossing in that cool grown-up stuff to make older audiences feel like they're not watching a baby cartoon. You don't have any movie version right now as a kid, because the last couple film Batman were also dark, violent, and dealing with deep psychological issues, both marketed to an adult audience as well. The last Batman-related cartoon you had was frickin' Batwheels, which is marketed to like 3-year-olds and stars a fucking car. So, as far as the cartoon-watching kid of today, Bat Fam is what they've decided to give you as your generation's Batman. You want the badass, serious Batman 90s and 2000s kids got? Tough shit, kid. You want the campy, playful Batman 2010s kids got? Yeah, no. You get the only thing your generation ever gets. Random, ugly nonsense with some old logo you barely know tossed on top of it to try to capitalize to get your dumbass parents to buy it for you. The problem with this show isn't that it's stupid, annoying, and boring, which it is, but it's that it just isn't a Batman show. This show is actually a follow-up to an animated movie called Merry Little Batman, where Batman's son Damien dresses up like Batman while his father is away and fights the villains of Gotham over Christmas. Damien doesn't look, act, or talk anything like Damien, is instead portrayed as just a normal little kid with a normal little kid voice, while Batman is portrayed as a goofy but lovable dad. Now let me be honest here, besides little nitpicks, I actually have no complaints about this movie. Is it for me? God fucking no. But it's got its own little charm and builds its own unique style, humor, and approach to the world and characters of Batman. And the movie did okay, as far as a streaming movie goes, so someone up top ordered a follow-up series, with the gimmick that instead of just focusing on the father-son relationship of Batman and Damien, we'd focus on the entire Bat family, or Bat Fam, as they called the show. Well, honestly, sounds like a pretty good idea to me. There are a lot of superhero families in comics, but the Bat family is one of the only ones who've crossed over into having any real mainstream awareness in pop culture. Most everyone knows there's a few Robins. Most people know about Batgirl. Doing goofy, exaggerated cartoon versions of these beloved characters, even if they were nothing like the comic versions, I mean, it should be a pretty fine cartoon that, though it could be pretty silly, can teach kids about these characters and give older audiences something amusing to giggle at. And it should pretty much all write itself. But of course, they didn't go that direction because that would both make sense and require any level of respect whatsoever for the characters being adapted into this thing. And in the opening titles, after seeing Batman, Damien, and Alfred, we see that the other members of the Bat Fam are going to be iconic Batman characters like a hipster chick with fire powers, a vampire ghost, and, of course, one of the most beloved members of the Bat family, some chick with an afro. When I and most other fans hear the title Bat Fam, we're going to immediately imagine a show about the Bat family, but done all silly and goofy. I'd personally imagine, Dick as the perfect eldest son who Damien wants to live up to. Jason as the edgy teen black sheep of the family who Bruce worries about influencing Damien negatively. Hell, maybe even have Helena as Bruce's biological daughter who returns from private school or something, explaining why she wasn't in that movie. Have Tim be Bruce's adopted son who has a rivalry with Damien. Ace as the family dog. Maybe play up Stephanie's time as a Robin. Portray Barbara as like a cousin type character with Gordon as an uncle type to the family. Kate Kane Batwoman as a badass aunt. Do an episode where the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh is revealed to be Bruce's distant cousin who comes over to visit or some shit. There's all kinds of stuff you could do with this premise, especially with the movie's wacky, over-the-top characterizations and designs. But that would require even the smallest amount of respect or research into the source material you're fucking hijacking. So I suppose that's just unrealistic of me to have expected. So let's see, what do we get in this show instead of any of that lame stuff I said? We soon learn while watching that Fire Girl isn't just some random OC character, you filthy casual fake fan. She's from DC. Despite looking nothing like her and the character having nothing to do with Batman, this is obviously Volcana, an insanely obscure character who originated in Superman the Animated Series and made a couple minor appearances in Justice League. And we learn within this show, from a very quick snippet of dialogue, that this version is a former supervillain who fell into a Lazarus pit and was de-aged at 12 years old and lost her memory, leading to Bruce Wayne adopting her and also apparently revealing his secret identity to her, all off screen. Why the fuck would you want any of those boring old Batman characters I said before when you could have this kick-ass shit, huh? We learn that the ghost dude is actually the spirit of Ra's al Ghul, who lives in the mansion and doesn't like Bruce because he won't share his cookies with him. So, yeah, an actual Batman character, Damien's grandfather. Oh, okay, there we go. It's something. But he doesn't do that much within the show. And I wonder why they decided to go with a ghost who talks like Dracula instead of like an out-of-touch ex-supervillain grandpa who's always rambling about his old schemes to kill Batman to his grandson. I think that would have been pretty funny. The Afro chick is actually Alicia Pennyworth, Alfred's niece who comes to live with them in the first episode. Now I got a question. Instead of making up this completely original character, why the fuck isn't this Julia, Alfred's daughter from the fucking comics instead? But no, come on. I shouldn't expect these people to read a wiki article since we all know that modern writers don't have the ability to read. Then, we also have the family cat who is named Selena. And Man-Bat, who basically is trying to be like Roger from American Dad, who just sits in the background awkwardly and does kind of weird things. There's your Bat family. A bunch of random made-up fucking shit. Now, you may have listened to me whine about some random-ass Batman cartoon all this time and thought, bro, it's just some random fucking kids cartoon. Who gives a shit what it's about? But this cast is everything wrong with modern adaptation writing distilled down into its simplest form. Adaptations of popular media are supposed to be a service for the fans, both long-time and potential new ones. Your job when hired to make this crap is to take what's old and worked and present it in a new way that will expand upon it in the modern day. This is what Batman the Animated Series did so incredibly well. It took the source material seriously, and I don't mean seriously as in deadpan and unfunny or some shit. You can do comedy adaptations of these characters. 60s Batman is campy and silly as hell, and it still treats all of its characters with respect. Same with Brave and the Bold. By seriously, I just mean being aware that you did not create the characters and lore, so though you can stretch it and adjust it to fit whatever type of story you're trying to tell, you should respect it enough to not just smash it and then toss in whatever random shit you selfishly think of without giving a fuck about the generations of storytellers who came before you and helped build this thing into the incredibly beloved and popular franchise it is today. Batman the Animated Series was deeply respectful of the source material, with the goal to make as good of a Batman cartoon for young audiences as they possibly could. And because they worked so hard to achieve that goal, the cartoon has reached legendary status and done something few adaptations are ever able to do. Affected comic canon in a way that even the biggest of nerds usually see as a positive contribution. With changes to characters like Mr. Freeze and the addition of characters like Harley Quinn. All of the changes and additions in that show were considered. Nothing was just tossed in with a, who gives a fuck attitude that so many adaptations in the modern day have. It was a love letter to decades of comics, and an attempt to bring those decades to an audience too young to have experienced them yet. And because they did such an incredible fucking job at bottling up all of those characters and lore, that show created an entire generation of die-hard Batman fans who will buy merchandise, watch movies, and even read comics until the day they die. People seem to think that the reason Batman is so friggin' popular in the modern day is because of the movies. That's fucking bullshit. The movies are popular because you already had a built-in audience of kids who were dying to go see good movie adaptations of them. There is no reason that just because this is a goofy comedy show that they couldn't take the same approach. Batman is not an unfunny franchise. At its core, it's super weird and goofy, with really over-the-top characters and ideas. I'd have loved to see that side of Batman's silliness explored in a comedic way, especially through the lens of all the characters from the Bat family. And with that generation of animated series fans now having kids of their own, I mean, some of them, it's the absolute perfect time to capitalize and make a show that fathers and sons can enjoy together to bring that love to the next generation while creating a nice family bonding experience. But of course, that's too much to fucking ask. Every adaptation nowadays is a fucking vanity project by the people making it, and they just use it as an excuse to do some original idea that could never be greenlit unless they hijack the brand awareness of a name like Batman. And instead of getting plots that revolve around much of anything to do with Batman, we get what modern audiences of cartoons always get: random, stupid nonsense. The first episode is about Alicia coming to move in. Volcana, aka Claire, sees Alicia's phone and suspects she may secretly be a villain because she's been talking to King Tut. So she convinces Damien to help her follow Alicia. They get to a warehouse where Alicia, King Tut, and other villains declare this will be the perfect headquarters for evil. Later, back home, Bruce is holding a family game night, and in order to prove to him that Alicia is evil, Claire and Damien get an orb from Ra's al Ghul that will release a demonic monster if anyone holding it says a lie. They try to get Alicia to hold it during family game night while bowling or playing basketball, but because Bruce has a strict schedule for the games in a binder he's holding, for some reason he keeps stopping them from handing it to her. Eventually, they're all tired, and Alicia points out to Bruce that he should let them pick what to do for once on family game night. And Claire says that they should play a game where they toss the orb around and ask each other questions. They toss the orb to Alicia and ask if she's evil, and she says no. They ask what she does for a job, and she says she's a social worker who helps former villains reform and is setting up an organization she calls ex-villains, or evil for short. Bruce asks why they're asking this, and while holding the orb, Damien says he suspected Alicia of being a villain and investigated her on his own, not involving Claire because he doesn't want to get her in trouble. This is a lie, so a giant demon comes out of the orb and starts attacking everyone. Alfred gets injured, so Alicia flips over, grabs him, and brings him to another room, just so that Bruce and Damien can suit up as Batman and Little Batman in the living room without her learning their secret identities. Rage agrees to help seal the demon away so it won't hurt Damien, and they all work together to stop it, with Claire and Damien admitting that they lied, and she was the one who was suspicious of Alicia. Though, due to their adventure together, Claire and Damien have now bonded, which was what Bruce wanted, since Claire initially didn't want to let Damien in as her brother. So, the moral of the story is that lying to your parents to keep your sibling out of trouble is a good sibling bonding experience that will bring the family closer together. All right. I'm sorry, what the fuck was that plot? I feel like I just tossed a dictionary into a blender and this is what came out. This is just stupid random nonsense that really could have been about any random characters you tossed together and called a family. And this is a comedy. What about the jokes? Well, we get hilarious moments like Alfred's pants splitting open and you see he wears British flag underwear while Britishy music plays. Raish flies into a painting of a donkey's ass, and you hear a fart noise after. Oh, just, fill in the blank, random jokes tossed throughout this random plot. Random is the name of the game when you come to this kind of crap. But maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe that's exactly the point. You lay out the plot like this, and it just seems fucking stupid, because the plot of a show like this doesn't even matter, right? The plot's just a vehicle for all these random fart jokes. This is a comedy cartoon first, right? So, am I being too harsh on it? Am I whining about something I shouldn't whine about? Is this like picking out the little intricacies and continuity errors within a SpongeBob episode and making me sound like a fucking moron? Well, to figure that out for episode 2, instead of running through the plot, which is just random nonsense again, let's instead run through the jokes and funny parts of the episode to see what this show looks like when viewed as a comedy instead of as an actual narrative. So joke number 1 comes pretty early in the episode. Claire hears a noise and sneaks out of her room to find it. Alicia appears behind her, accidentally startling Claire. Alicia then says, "Did you hear those creepy sounds? Unless it was you making them, in which case it's totally cool." Now, you may be confused because I just said that this was a joke when it clearly was not. But we see that, in fact, this was supposed to be a joke because we see that Alicia is smiling and sweating nervously while saying this line. And there's a music cue that lets us know that this awkward silence that we have after she says that is being held for comedic purposes. So, joke number 1. They then open the attic door and see a shape. Alicia yells, "It's the pigman from my nightmares!" And Claire says, "Eat flame, pigman!" before throwing fire at it. The way this is acted out and the music make it clear that this was also meant to be funny. It turns out to be a toy Bruce is holding that he says he's packing for Damien's field trip tomorrow, just in case. Claire interrupts to say, in case his friends think he's too cool. Alicia then says, "Ooh, sick burn, girl," and holds up a high five. But Claire doesn't return it. Bruce shows a photo album of all previous field trips he and Damien had taken together, with Bruce as a chaperone. In one of them, they're all bandaged up from a ski trip. That's something. Then Bruce points and says, "And look at this giraffe." I think that was supposed to be a joke. Bruce then starts opening up about how he's sad he can't chaperone his next field trip for Damien because he's not going to be a kid forever, and how many field trips will even be left in. But then it cuts out and everyone's left, and Bruce says, "Oh, everyone went back to bed." But then Man-Bat says, "I'm still here," in the background, and we get an awkward silence. In a flashback, we see that Bruce has a lucky batarang that returns to him with a winning lottery ticket stuck to it. Then we get no attempted jokes for a few minutes. At Damien's field trip, a scientist explains how a ray gun works, and the chaperone that is there is checking her phone and not paying attention, while lazily repeating what the scientist is saying about death rays. Yep, death ray, superpowered, dangerous, while scrolling through her phone. Bruce sets it up so that the chaperone wins a vacation and just runs away. The teachers start panicking, and when Bruce arrives to replace her, the teacher says, "Finally, a real chaperone! He's so beautiful!" We cut back to the mansion, and Claire is painting the living flame that follows her around. She says, "Stop smiling, you're going to mess me up," which is funny because the flame doesn't have a mouth. Alicia is trying to get people at the mansion to like her, but she's coming on too strong. Alfred gives her a speech about how it takes time to make people like you, and you should be patient and give a gentle touch. Alicia says, "Oh, I have a gentle touch," then immediately starts chasing the family cat, yelling, "Here, kitty, kitty, kitty," to get her to like her. Damien and Harvey Dent's twin daughters start a food fight to try and escape Bruce as chaperone in order to enact a heist that they want to make at the science lab their field trip is at. A teacher gets hit in the face by food and says, "I'm allergic to cafeteria food." A janitor says, "Hey, Jenny," to another employee at the field trip, and she says, "Hey, Jim," to which he responds, "It's Charles, actually." There are long sequences of Damien and the twins trying to escape Bruce. In one, they make a hologram of Damien to distract him, only to realize he made a hologram of himself to go talk to that hologram. In one, they try to get on a hoverbike, but then Bruce is on the hoverbike pointing to a sign that says, "No riding on this hoverbike." None of these are jokes as far as I can tell. They're just things happening with amusing montage music over them, so I don't even know how to rate this kind of thing. Bruce is eventually tricked into leaving the kids to find Damien's lost toy from earlier. As he leaves, he tells that one teacher to watch the kids, and the teacher is immediately hit in the face with a cafeteria tray. Damien and the twins break into the wing of the lab where they hold supervillains' gadgets. Upon finding Bane's venom, Trudy, Harvey's meaner daughter, smells it and says, "It smells like burps." Damien and the other daughter give her a weird stare, and she responds, "What? Everyone talks about what it does, but no one talks about how it smells," with the music stopping to accentuate the joke. They then find what they call a mother box replicator. Trudy smells it and says, "Nah, not burpy." The nicer twin says they should use the box to create a boom tube to summon parademons to rule over all known life in the universe. And Trudy responds, "And people think I'm the evil twin." We cut back to the mansion where Alicia is still trying to get the cat to like her. She uses a laser pointer, and instead of the cat, Man-Bat starts jumping around and lands on Alicia. Then soon after that, we get a speech from Claire to Alicia, who knows that Alicia's been trying to get the cat to like her because she actually wants Claire to like her. Claire says that some cats, and people, aren't as open with their feelings and show they care in different ways, like insulting them, as Claire has done to Alicia throughout the episode. Finally, a pretty good joke. Except this is not a joke. This is played straight and is the moral of this side story of this episode. So it's okay to be a bitch to people because they're too stupid to realize that being a bitch is how you show affection? Okay, another good moral for kids, I guess. While Bruce is looking for Damien's toy, he interrogates a janitor, who says he saw a kid having a whole conversation with it about how his dad is clingy. Bruce shows a picture of Damien, and the janitor says, "Oh, you're his dad? Math's starting to track." The kids accidentally summon parademons by playing around in the secret weapons room, and Damien says, "I didn't know something bad was going to happen in the secret weapons room." Damien says they didn't summon the parademons on purpose, they just butt-dialed them. Then says, "Do you have butt dials on Apocalypse?" The parademon says, "Butt dial? What? Yeah, people have said I have the most biggest, beautiful, tremendous butt dial in the whole universe. Then throws Damien, grabs the mother box replicator, and says, we shall use our powerful butt dials to call our reinforcements, and he flies away. Then Damien says, stop those parademons from butt dialing for backup. So that's like 4 jokes, right? Later, the parademons try to get the mother box replicator to work and say, come on, you stupid box, why won't you butt dial? Butt dial! Oh, it just keeps going. The twins shoot some parademons attacking the class with weapons from the villain's weapon room and say, sorry, but messing with our teacher is our job. To which he responds, messing with me shouldn't be anyone's job, which it's almost a joke. Their teacher gets hit with a batarang on his turban and says, hey, watch the turban. The parademon gets the box to work and says, finally, you will all feel the wrath of my butt dial. Bruce throws his lucky batarang and it hits a couple random things before somehow going outside high into the sky. And then you see that chaperone on a plane and it dings against the plane from outside, but she doesn't look. And then it goes all the way back down, reaching its destination. After the adventure, Bruce pulls out Damien's toy deputy Bow Wow, which talks when squeezed and has been breaking down throughout the episode. After using it to plug up an energy link to stop the parademons earlier in the episode, the toy now says, Deputy Bow Wow is headed for the big enchilada in the sky. There you go. I can think of no better way to review a comedy than to let it speak for itself. And as you're now painfully aware, this show is fucking hilarious. Butt dial? Oh man, the only thing that would have made that funnier is if they would have said it one more time. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like criticizing what people think is funny. It seems so dickish to look at something someone wrote from their heart and thought was hilarious and then mock them for it. But I'm not convinced the writer of this shit thought any of this was actually funny. I assume they were just writing random nonsense down thinking, it's for a fucking kid, who gives a fuck? Kids are fucking stupid. There's been this asinine idea for a long time now that kids' cartoons should be stupid random nonsense comedies. Basically, the kids are dumb as shit and will watch whatever random fart jokes you hand to them, so that you don't need to even try writing that hard. It's a waste of your time. Meanwhile, serious shows like Avatar, Transformers, Batman, and many others have been popular for decades, with kids who still discover, watch, and love them all to this day. And while modern cartoons get stupider and stupider, more and more kids are turning to badass serious shonen anime that's actually about stuff, instead of this random fucking nonsense. And even the seemingly stupid, silly, random cartoons prove that this logic is completely untrue. Shows like SpongeBob, Adventure Time, and many, many others, at the heights of their popularity, are clever in their writing, deliberate in their randomness, and to a kid, builds an entire world that feels real and engaging. Not this show. It's got some of the laziest attempts at jokes I've ever seen in a show, making it completely fail at being a comedy. Its other goal of being a heartfelt family show also completely falls flat. Not only is there no chemistry between any of the characters, with them changing personalities from episode to episode and definitely not feeling like any kind of makeshift family despite all living in the same house. The heartfelt moral lessons of the show are all fucked up. With the previous two I said about lying to your parents and expecting other people to know that even though you're being an asshole, you care about them, the plot of this second episode was that Damien tricks his dad and sneaks away from the rest of his class on a field trip in order to rob a secure section of Star Labs in order to steal Batman's lucky batarang, which is held there so he can give it to his father as a present. And so Batman learns that he should give his son more space. The end. The moral, I guess, is that stealing is okay if it's a present, and that parents shouldn't smother their kids so much by expecting them to listen to them. Literally from the ground up, this show is a fucking waste of time. And the thing is, I think a kid show starring Damien is a pretty interesting entry point for younger viewers. Make it half serious, half comedic, like the old Teen Titans cartoon about Damien and other members of the Bat family. Sounds pretty fucking sweet. Make a few more lifelong fans who will keep handing you money across their lifetime. I guarantee this show isn't going to make a single lifelong fan. I'll be surprised if anyone even remembers it in 2 years. I will be surprised if anyone even watches this video because no one gives a shit about this fucking show, if they're even aware that it exists right now. Batman the Animated Series has been beloved for decades. So much so that Kevin Conroy was the go-to actor to voice Batman, and most fans never got tired of hearing his rendition. In this show, even Luke frickin' Wilson doesn't give a shit. You think you've heard Luke Wilson sleepwalk through a performance before? You ain't seen nothing yet. as he is clearly foaming in his performance as Batman to an almost impressive degree. It's not every day someone can top George Clooney's iconic "I don't care about this role" performance, man. It is actually pretty impressive. So, all in all, do I recommend you watch this show? Well, let's put it this way. If you love Teen Titans Go, but think it's not boring and stupid enough, and you love the art style of Aquaman, King of Atlantis, but wish it were more lazy, ugly, and generic looking, then you'll love Batfam, and I couldn't recommend it highly enough. And before I go, I know there will be those of you who still say, "Dude, who cares? It's a kid's show. Why the hell you bitching so much, you little bitch?" Well, to that I say, That's the mindset that's getting American media fucked to fucking death by anime. I like American cartoons. I want them to be good. I want to beat fucking Japan. So yeah, I fucking care. I am so sick of our shit looking so garbage by comparison. Let's stop wasting time and start getting some god-tier cartoons out again, man. These are so formative to kids' minds and morals. We pump garbage into kids' brains. We shouldn't be surprised when garbage adults is what comes out on the other side. So yeah, I fucking care, and you should too. Anyways, for the rest of you, see you next time. I'm gonna go gouge my eyes out with a spoon so I never accidentally watch anything like this ever again. See ya.